Welcome back, everyone. We have just finished watching, I would say, probably the most exciting race in Formula One so far this year. Would you guys agree? Big claim, small claim?
It's going to be up there. It's going to be up there. It's a good race. Good race.
Big clay. I mean, like for it being the French Grand Prix, that's supposed to be boring.
Yeah.
It was really exciting, really exhilarating. It's always nice to see like strategies win games.
Exactly.
Races.
Yeah, so exactly. So, for I think the first time this season, we've had not a single crash.
I think it was the first time since like 2019. It's been quite a while since we've had everybody finish a race. Yeah,
finally, and this race allowed my boy Max Verstappen, or my boy being anyone apart from Hamilton, to win. Quite convincingly as well. I mean, it took us up until the very last lap to really cement in the winner, and obviously, Mercedes's strategy really hurt them. Right, it was poor execution. Even Bottas. I mean, Bottas saw it coming from the very beginning. He must be fuming. He probably just went back to the garage and was like, "I told you guys so. I told you so."
I mean, he was saying it on the radio. I don't know if you heard. He said, "Why did no one effing listen to me? I said it was an effing two-stop race." So yeah,
so you're not the main driver, Bottas.
I mean, and so I think it's good to start with Mercedes and specifically Bottas. So this race was clearly a redemption race for him. He's had poor performances over the past few races, and he really needed to remind everyone why he's in Mercedes. He needed to, and I think not only for everyone else, but for himself as well. I mean, we'll talk more about it later, but there's more rumors circulating about there's a potential new second driver, in the horizon of Mercedes. So, if that's the case, he also needs to build enough of a brand for himself for him to get that next big contract. So what did you guys think? Maybe we'll start with Gabo. What do you think with Bottas's overall performance in the race so far and just Mercedes' approach?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it more than anything, it maddens me to see that it takes him this long to kind of like wake up, I guess. Like when your seat is at risk, that's when you decide to show up. Like for example, he was in DRS zone of Hamilton after he's pitting, for quite a few laps. He could have taken it. So, but then again, that talks about like who's the main driver, who has more pace or whatever.
Yeah, you don't know what the team radio they were saying. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. But to me, it's a little too much. It's a little too late. Honestly, yeah, just too little, too late. I don't see this changing anything really. I mean, he didn't even finish podium, so like it's not like the greatest of ends. Like then again, it is the Mercedes team that messed up. I mean, they even said it. This is on us. But it's interesting to see him race well. No, not a lot of faults. Maybe when Perez or Verstappen was passing him on. I know Seb, you were a bit upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Bottas was that good. Again, I don't think his pace was that fantastic. As you said, he was sort of within the range of Lewis. Didn't really challenge necessarily. The one time Lewis sort of needed help from his teammate to sort of slow Verstappen. As soon as Verstappen got on his back, he made a mistake and Verstappen went through. I just. Bottas infuriates me. He really infuriates me, to be honest. I cannot wait until he's out of that Mercedes because he's just hindering the team more than anything else now.
And himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it is shown again. I'm sure Lewis has come out as saying that this sort of shows the cars are the same. They're using the same chassis. Lewis is getting so much more out of the car. He is the far better driver, but he's just not getting the help. He's just not getting the help. I was not that impressed. And again, he was overtaken by Perez, who we know is very good on his tires. But it's just Bottas now.
But that's just Bottas now. No, and that's the thing that you mentioned, Perez. Like at the end of the day, you have to understand also, we have to take a look at it into the construction side of things. So sure, Bottas is messing up for himself or for the team, but like you said, Perez is finally stepping up. He's had 2 back-to-back great races, and he was put in that position to not pit for a long time to keep the traffic back and still manage to get the 3rd place from Bottas. Amazing driving. And the thing is, Perez knows and accepts that he's the second driver. I don't know if you guys saw that he let Max fly by. Here, go ahead. You have the pace. You do it. That was kind of how it was with Hamilton and Bottas back then, but obviously that doesn't last long. Eventually, as a second driver, you're gonna want to get that piece of that action.
But I
But
mean, I'm glad you brought up Max because, I think apart from the fact that the Red Bull car this year is actually competitive with Mercedes, I think Max as a driver himself has matured so much with his driving, with even his strategy, like his I mean, Hamilton's tire management today was impeccable. The fact that those tires didn't explode towards the end is a miracle. Like even
And he almost did win the race. He did almost win the race.
Exactly. I mean,
he was a sitting duck in the end, but he almost actually took it, which is shocking.
Which is shocking with those type of tires, with the conditions on the track. I mean, everyone you saw at the beginning was complaining.
Whew.
No, so it became hot towards the end. So the race was hot, but the track itself was freezing, right? Like it rained in the morning.
Okay.
It was really cold. I mean, that's why they couldn't get any grip or tire the very first half of the race, and that's why everyone was kind of skidding around. But everyone was talking about specifically Mercedes and Red Bull, right? And the gulf between those two cars and the rest is insane. So McLaren, who actually did very well,
fantastic race from the boys.
Fantastic race from both of them, actually. So I mean, I'm a huge Ricciardo fan. So to see him finishing top 8, obviously he finished 6th. Lando finished 5th. But the difference between Lando and Bottas, you guys can guess. How many seconds was it?
I'm sure it was at like 50 seconds. 50
yeah,
seconds.
Yeah,
52, 50,
64. 64. Yeah. That's nearly a full minute. And so
it's over a minute, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what university degrees get you, everyone.
I didn't want to say it, but
thank you. But yeah. I mean, so you look at it even. I mean, I'm very happy that this year we have a clear fight for the top 4, of various in fluctuations. Sometimes it's Perez, for example, like last race winning it all. Then it's Max, and then it's then Lewis. But then you look at the rest, and it's kind of like tiers, right? You have McLaren in kind of their own tier at 3rd, and then I don't really know. I mean, I would want to say Ferrari, but based on today's performance, they did terrible. What do you guys think?
I think you're right that McLaren are sort of separating themselves out as sort of the 3rd best team. And then after that, I think it is a bit of a melee. You sort of have Ferrari, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alpine, who all seem to have tracks that they're sort of performing better at. We've seen like Ocon has had some really good results recently. Gasly has had some fantastic results recently. Vettel ended up coming 2nd, was it a couple of weeks ago or something? 3rd. Yeah. So they're all sort of taking opportunities at different sort of circuits and that sort of thing. But yeah, McLaren I've been really impressed with. Lando is now the only driver this season to score points in every single race. Nice. Great season. I'm really, really happy for them both.
Yeah, I love the kid. But yeah. I'm glad you brought it up. Like, at the end of the day, it was kind of like the same. It's kind of like the same version of last year's season, except now Red Bull is with Mercedes doing this. So it's like before it used to be like Mercedes tier 1 and then everyone else, and now it's like 2 teams in tier 1, and it just goes to show how the sport really revolves around those positions for the money towards the end of the game, at the end of the race. But as well, massive kudos to the engineering team at Red Bull. I mean, the changes of the season really, really messed up Mercedes, and Red Bull was able to capitalize on that, and here they are, faster than Mercedes.
So on the topic of Red Bull engineers and just kind of their overall approach to different races. So in the qualifiers or throughout the whole weekend, it was very interesting to see the sort of downforce strategy that Mercedes was using versus Red Bull. So, I mean, I don't know the intricate details, disclaimer, not an engineer and clearly not good in maths as well as Seb here. Yeah. But the downforce strategy that Mercedes used to help them more in the corners. So even if you look at the kind of the live gap timing in the qualifiers, like you can literally see Hamilton's time like push forward in every single corner turn, but in those flats, Red Bull got it on lock. Right, it was Red Bull's. It actually, in fact, down that those long lines in the race, the straights, Red Bull was outpacing the Mercedes car by 5 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I saw that.
Damn, I
So
did not see that. Wow. Okay.
and that's across. I think this race was 53 laps. If that's you're constantly trying to gaining that speed advantage every single straight, that makes a huge difference. So to me, I think Lewis did a phenomenal job. I think Bottas, might as well to
you're on your own with that one, yeah.
I think Bottas is phenomenal, but I think fundamentally this weekend Mercedes lost because of their backroom staff. It was the engineers. It was Toto's strategy. They just didn't think of it straight, and if you're Lewis, like you'd be really annoyed, right? Like I mean, they even admitted on the race.
This isn't the first time this season. There's been a few times now that he's been in a position to go on and win the race, and for various sort of things out of his control, it's ended up putting him in a poor position. And because he is the GOAT, sometimes he can sort of pull something out of his arse and manage to win. But today, just you could see as Max was getting closer and closer, the tires, he just didn't have anything left. He was a sitting duck. It was going to happen. He was going to get the overtake. It's just a shame that Bottas. I mean, that's the thing. If Bottas could have held him up one lap, that could have given.
But
Hamilton
again, I think it was very hard to put that on Bottas because his car was also just completely worn out. Like there's only so much defense you can do with a very
But it was like the first corner. The first corner.
But Hamilton didn't keep him at bay too long either. Like it was just maybe less than a lap. And
at that point, like he had the DRS on the. We just talked about Red Bull, that extra pace on the straights. Like it was inevitable.
Look, Red Bull picked up the dice. They saw a chance and rolled it, and pays off. Won't pay off. Are we gonna explode our medium tires towards the end? Are we not? So this would be a great point. I do want to just bring up something to hopefully inspire some more fans into the sport. A lot of people, just look at Formula One and it's like, okay, it's just cars racing, going in circles. But I love this sport simply because of the amount that goes in behind the scenes, the engineering, the qualifyings, doing qualifyings and doing practices. That's what they try, all these downforce strategies. Okay, do we increase the length here, there, the tires separation, the downforce, whatever it is, the weight, amount of fuel, all these little things make the sport so good rather than it's just a guy going behind the wheel. And this race in particular is a great example of that.
100%.
Great example of that.
100%. It was raw racing skill and capability, right? Like the people that earned those points across the whole kind of table did it because they raced their heart out. It wasn't like based on some crash and you had some random person hitting podium. It wasn't like, a freak event or a tire rupture that suddenly derailed everyone and there was a safety car. There was not even any safety car. Like even when people were going around and there was, some cars locked in, I think this race was honestly to me a highlight of the season so far. But I do want to ask you guys something. Who would, and we'll start with Seb. Who would you say is your driver of the day, and who would you say, and how? Maybe I'll start a new award: the flat tire of the day, the person that felt really underperformed. So we'll start with you, Seb. Who is your driver of the day, and who is your flat tire of the day?
I think my driver of the day has to go to Lando. I think Max, was helped by the strategy, and yes, he was also fantastic. But I think Lando I think he qualified outside the top 10 to then use the car in the way he did and get up to 5th, I think is brilliant. And again, he's now 4th in the table. He's ahead of Bottas overall.
The Bottas hate is really deep. The Bottas hate is really
Bottas.
deep.
He's so bad. I'm really tempted to put him as my flat tire, but I'm going to try and see if I can think of anyone else that deserves it.
Then maybe we'll shift to Gabo while you think about it. Gabo, who is your driver of the day and your flat tire of the day?
Okay, so driver of the day, I'm gonna give it to my boy back-to-back Perez.
Latino. Viva Latin America.
No, honestly, like the guy. First of all, he knows exactly what his job is, what his role is. I've always loved watching this guy race because he's there to race and that's it. And he's a soldier. He's gonna follow instructions to the piece and not say anything against it, you know.
100%.
And sometimes that gets him the wins, you know, like last race or the amazing first championship that he got back in Singapore in what was it, 2018?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That should have a video of its own. Like how do you go from last to first? Unreal.
Mad.
Anyway, but we're talking about this race. You know, besides being the good soldier, just being able to stay out so long with those tires,
his tire management is ridiculous.
keep everyone else at bay, helping Max get those extra, you know, comfortable tires in, so not to push too hard. Then when I saw him pit too late, I was like, this is it. I was so frustrated. I was like, you know, you guys, okay, fine. Max is the first driver. Perez is just gonna land eighth place, and eventually that's gonna look bad, and then you're gonna bring up Albon again. But no, the guy picked it up and managed to finish podium, a 1 and 3 podium for Red Bull. Great driving by Perez. We spoke about it last game. He just needed 5 races. Now he's there. He's gonna win more.
Yeah, he's on full season. So do you guys have a flat tire? So I mean, since you guys shared your drivers, I might share mine. So I mean, like Seb, huge McLaren fan, but I'm going to go for Lando's colleague in the form of Ricardo. I think Ricardo, I mean, I love his driving style. His overtakes are so clean. I just love how I love like who he is and how he drives. But also I appreciate the fact that he's been underperforming for a very long time. And it was just good.
Starting to click into gear.
Yeah. I think he's slowly understanding his car. And actually, for most of the race, he actually had the pace on Lando. It was very clear that he was given instructions to let Lando take a lot of superior positions. And I think he could have easily finished way ahead of Lando. But he was, as Gabo says, a soldier in that regard. And, you know, stuck it out and was happy to retreat. But to me, for sure, driver of the day. So now I think
again, to go for just before you go on, to go from 8th and 10th to 5th and 6th. Perfect day from McLaren. Perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was telling you guys in our chat, you know, I play the game, the online game. It was as if they brought down the difficulty of the AI to like 1, and they were just passing by cars as if nothing. I was like, okay, McLaren, you got this.
I like in one of the corners, they both passed Gasly like he's like a fly. Like he's just like, go away, shoo.
and Alonso.
And Alonso too.
Yeah.
So you know, since maybe we'll go in counterclockwise in terms of flat tire of the day, I'll say very briefly, and it was very obvious. Mine is unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, Charles Leclerc. What are you doing? You know, like I know I think, you know, a lot of us are semi fans of him, but he finished 16th. He finished behind Ocon. Like, what are you doing, bro? What is he doing?
Yeah, and he hasn't had good races. I mean, he's qualified first in 2 of them. One crashed out, couldn't do anything about it. The other one, he got passed by everyone and ended 6th. Like, sure, it's the car, whatever. The car has no pace. But today it had to be more than the car.
They've shown flashes. They have shown flashes. I mean, yeah, I was sort of going to go with Charles actually, but I might just give it to Ferrari in general, because again, even Sainz in 11th is not great.
Yeah.
I think they'll be very disappointed with today's showing. Ferrari.
Absolutely. I mean, they have to win the 3rd place constructors, and
that's their minimum. Yeah.
And today with McLaren, what, 6th and 7th,
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th, that's not gonna happen. You know, it's not looking good. My flat, what was it? The flat
tire of the day.
Flat tire of the day.
We need to put like something here, like a little flat.
There's got to be some sort of trophy with a flat tire.
To me, it has to be to Ocon. Actually, I thought you mentioned it before. I mean, this guy, like, I guess it's because I expected a bit more from him. Like he just signed his big deal. What was it, 4 or 5 years with Alpine?
Yeah,
or 3. I don't know. Anyway, big deal. He is in France, you know, for the Alpine, for him. You know, it's been his dream. And then at the very least, I would say, you know, I'll pace Alonso at the very least. But no, he ended outside the points. Alpine's not looking that good in these circuits. So that would be my flat tire. I wasn't really impressed by him. Then again, am I expecting much from him?
Well, I mean, just having a look at his recent results, he's had, so he retired in Baku, but I think that was out of his control. Prior to that, he had 4 point scoring results in a row. to go from that to 14th again, yeah, not the best result.
Yeah, in your country, yeah. But it's funny because I think this, I would even put my money and say that this position, like all the standings, is going to be the exact same standings for the Silverstone one. It's going to look so similar. It's going to be this kind of the same circuit style. So unless they do something about it, Mercedes, Lewis losing in Silverstone is going to be rough.
For sure.
He's going to turn up for his home Grand Prix as long as the team sort their lives out and have a look at the strategy and just don't be idiots. Yeah, I think they've got some homework to do there.
Yeah, and I know as at least a final remark from me, I think as annoying as the Pirelli tires have become and continue to be a topic of conversation, like, I mean, today's race wasn't a great indication just because the track conditions weren't prime. Like, even if there were Bridgestone tires, like there would still be a lot of graining early on just because there's not enough heat or pressure to get them going. But sorry, I'm kind of deviating. I think regardless of the tire situation, the fact that these tires are becoming a bit unpredictable is adding an element of excitement, a lot of danger. I'm not taking away the danger, but definitely a lot of excitement for at least the neutrals, right? The viewer. The viewer, right? Like, I mean, I would not want any tire to explode and put a driver at harm. But the fact that you're looking at the graining, like, for example, today, the 2 stops, 1 stop, it's adding such a different dynamic to the races, which fundamentally is why when, I don't know if you guys know the full story, when Pirelli first signed their contract with F1, they were given instructions to create, not the most durable tire specifically for this reason. Obviously, everything is allegedly, but, when they first came on board, that was a quote unquote clear direction provided by the FIA. So then these sort of scenarios can happen. So as much as we can lament Pirelli for whatever they want to do, it's getting more people talking. It's getting more unique scenarios happening. So what do you guys think? Do you think the ROI for it is worth it?
Yeah, no, I agree, and also mostly because of what we talked on earlier about how intricate the sport has become in terms of the engineering and the strategy behind it. Imagine having 1 tire and not having to pit. Like, what do you have a pit for anyway? Why do you have a strategy for anyway? Just put them on hards and let them go all the way. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, the sport evolves like that. Eventually, obviously, it was because of safety issues, but these cars used to go in the pit and get fuel. That's not the case anymore. Purely safety. But this sport evolves. The halo comes in, and even though viewers hate it, which I can't believe people actually are like, okay.
I don't really think there's any issue with it.
I'd rather have the drivers alive. Are you kidding me? Anyway,
for sure.
and it saved people. But anyway, these things do change. I mean, the FIA, they don't want these races and these years to go year after year, just the same results. And you can see this year. I mean, that's exactly what happened.
That's why exactly. That's why they limited Mercedes.
Yeah, they were wrecking. So it's not like they sat down and it's like, okay, how can we make Mercedes worse?
How can we nerf Mercedes this year?
Exactly.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if they did, though. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a more like they looked at their key strengths of the car. How can we take that away so then everyone else can have a fighting? Not even everyone else. Like someone could have a fighting chance, and it ended up being Red Bull, but yeah, I mean, I fully do agree with you, Gabriel. I mean, Sam, I think
it's difficult though because, as you said, I think as much as we want entertainment, we don't want people dying. And again, that Verstappen incident from 2 weeks ago, if he had gone to the left instead of the right and hit the pit entrance at that speed, I mean, I don't want to think about sort of what the ramifications of that could have been. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily having tires with potentially less life, but it's when you're saying that they have X amount of laps that they can do, and that's BS, and they can only actually do this amount, and then you're potentially putting drivers at risk. That's something that they have to look at.
Yeah, but that's also because at the beginning they were also saying Pirelli kind of came out and be like, it's not us, it's you guys that we gave you a limit for the pressure and you guys are not respecting that came like later on being said that that's not true, that it was just debris or whatever. Whatever it is, I guess we'll never know.
At least it seems as though this week we had no drastic issues like that, which is again, you can argue good, bad. Yeah, at least we don't have any danger.
But Seb, on as based on what Gabo said, do you think the ownership of the tire management is that on Pirelli or the teams themselves?
I think again, like sort of like I was saying, that if the teams are following the directives of Pirelli of you can use this tire for a max life of X amount of laps, we will see the real sort of danger area of the tire sort of exploding at X amount of laps. If they're following those directives, and then you're still getting a situation like Lance Stroll and Verstappen had a couple of weeks ago, where they're potentially crashing for no apparent reason that they've done anything wrong, especially if they're saying that they maintain the pressures, they kept the temperatures, they're not just running them for the whole race. I don't think you can blame the teams on that. That has to be a Pirelli issue. They need to sort that out. Again, this week, no problems. Let's see for the next couple of races, sort of if there's any other hiccups.
Yeah, 100%. And thanks, guys, for joining. And make sure you subscribe, tune in. We're 100% going to do F1 preview for the upcoming races since we have back-to-back weekends.
Styria and Austria coming up.
Austria,
two great circuits.
Exactly. So subscribe, like the comment. Let us know what you guys think. Is Bottas a good or bad driver? Is Ferrari done for this season? And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like hearing us ramble about sports, feel free to subscribe at the top right, check out the next videos on the left, and feel free to leave us a like at the bottom. Thank you guys for watching.